Hey friends, I'm Jill and I'm so glad you're here with me for More Than Unbroken, a space for real, honest encouragement. Today I want to talk to you about pitfalls and pride, or maybe I should say the pitfall of pride. I've been guilty of being proud for the wrong reasons. How about you? Well, if pride is a struggle for you, like it is for me, you need to read the story of Joseph in Genesis. There are so many good things that happen in this story, and it's one of my all-time favorite Bible stories. Most of the time when we talk about Joseph in the Bible, we like to focus on how he had to wait on God for his promises, or how God turned his pit into a palace, and it ended up saving him and his family in the process. But today, I want to dive deeper into how Joseph got himself into that pit, because we can get ourselves into pits sometimes. So in Genesis chapter 37, we learn first of all that Joseph is a 17-year-old young man and that he is his father's favorite. He was born to the wife that Jacob loved. Rachel is his mom, and he was born to Jacob in his old age. Jacob gives him this beautiful robe, and his brothers are jealous. And they see that their father favors him. Well, then Joseph starts having these dreams. And the first dream is we're all gathering grain, and my grain stood up straight, and your grain bowed down to mine. And his brothers responded, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? And they hated him more because he told them about the dream. Then he had another dream and told them, listen to this one. The sun and the moon and 11 stars bowed down to me. They hated him for it. And then when he told his father even said, what is this dream? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you? And his brothers were so jealous of him. And his father kept the matter in mind. I hate to admit it, but this remarkable young man didn't show a lot of wisdom in his youth. And yes, God turned it around. But in the meantime, his father lived for years in grief after his brothers sold him into slavery. And he ended up in prison, all because he loved the gift of dreams more than the giver of dreams. In fact, after Joseph has some time to think a while, he sits in prison for a few years and he has time to think, he gets humbled. And that humility is what prompts the power of Pharaoh to be bestowed upon him. In chapter 41, we find in verse 14 that Pharaoh has called for Joseph because he's had these dreams that are disturbing. And Joseph responds that he cannot interpret the dreams, that only God can. Joseph gives full credit to God for his gift. And I believe this is how he ended up in the palace and ultimately reconciling with his family. So Joseph's pitfall was pride, and it cost him many years of hardship. What's the thing in your life that's keeping you from moving into the promise of God? This week, I challenge you to ask God to reveal your pitfalls and be prepared to turn it over to God when he shows it to you. Don't let your pit become permanent. God has more and wants more for you. Keep trusting his plan, and remember that we are all living more than unbroken. I'll see you next week.